Hi there and welcome. Today I'm giving you 10 reasons to use RStudio. Please note that I don't work for RStudio, I just love using it and I recommend it. The first reason for me is that I really like the working environment. It's very informative and presents a lot of information. The screen is divided in 4 areas and each of these windows can have several tabs so that I can access all the information that I need for my work. The second reason is that RStudio has intelligent context menus. I'll give a few examples. When I start entering a command in the console and then press tab, then RStudio gives me a context menu with all the commands that start with the letters that I just typed. In this case, we have a lot of read commands. Then when I keep on typing, in this case I typed read.csv and open the brackets and then I press tab within the brackets, then RStudio gives me a context menu with the parameters of the function that I can use. And as we see in this case, there are quite a lot of parameters that I might specify. I can still keep on writing and start specifying a parameter, and then when I press tab after the equals sign, I get yet another context menu. And in this case, because I typed file, I get a choice of folders and files that I might want to read. And the fourth example, when I'm in the console, I can press Control and up, and then I get a pop-up showing me recent commands. Just with the up and down arrows, you can navigate between commands, but pressing Control up, you get the context menu. The third reason is the way R handles projects. So I can not only store files, but I can also combine them to a project. So I get project-specific working environments, including scripts, data, history of commands, and so on. This is the menu you get to deal with projects, opening and closing projects, for example. What some RStudio users might not know is that there's also a search function to search within all project files, even if these files are not open. And you can do that by pressing Control, Shift, and F. And this is the mask that you get to specify a search. The fourth reason to use RStudio is that it supports developing R packages and Shiny apps. Doing this requires a certain structure for your folders and files, and when creating a new project, you can choose to start with an empty project, but you can also choose an R package or a Shiny web application. We start with an R package. This is the menu you get. You can specify a name and a folder and some more features. Just a note, pacred that you can use here is a package that allows you to use predefined versions of other packages that your package might rely on. And this way you can guarantee consistent conditions between you and your collaborators or users of your package. When you start your package, then RStudio predefines this file structure so that, for example, documentation is already thought of. And you also get an example script with some information on how to manage your package. This holds also true for Shiny web applications. You can start a project as a Shiny web application. You get a similar menu to start with. You can enter a name and a folder and also decide on some other options. And then this is the file structure that you get. And you also get a predefined UE.R file, user interface, and a server.R file with a couple of code lines that help you get started and give you additional information. The next reason to use RStudio is the version control system. You can use Git or GitHub. Now, GitHub is a website. If you don't want to put your files on a website, you can also use Git, but you must have installed it on your local machine, and then you can use Git on a local folder. I'm just giving one slide here. When you do that, you get an additional tab next to environment and history for Git, and the window below is an example of how Git shows you what changed between your last commit, your last specified version, and your current working state. You can see that I changed some lines, so red is what was deleted and green is what replaced it, or here below green is some lines that I added since the last commit. Then syntax highlighting is another reason. It's very common with a lot of editors, but RStudio supports many languages with syntax highlighting, not just R files. You can see there are some programming languages here like C, C++, Python, of course. There are some markup languages like XML, YAML, and others, Markdown, of course, HTML, and also scripting languages like JavaScript, and so on, and SQL, of course. The next reason that maybe not all RStudio users might be aware of is that you can use multiple cursors. While this might be not the most important reason, I find it a nice feature. And I want to show you an example. For example, if I start several similar functions, I can use multiple cursors. And now you can see that RStudio fills in what I type at 3 different places. And to do this, you press Ctrl and Alt. Then debugging is, of course, another strength zone of RStudio. Here's an example. I'm using 2 functions, test and test2, and test2 calls test, and in test I made a spelling error. I wrote prints instead of just print, so I get an error message, but RStudio gives me a traceback and some more details of what it did and where the error occurred. A lot more could be said of debugging. This is just a short example. Another reason why to use RStudio is Markdown integration. So with Markdown you can create reports and embed results of R analysis into the text that you write. And you can do this in several file formats. Here it shows HTML. You can also do PDF or Word files. And when I render my file, I hit the knit button, and you see that next to the console I get a new tab that shows me how the Markdown file is created, and then the report itself is opened in a new window. And you see that there's some R code that I could also hide if I wanted. There are some charts, and you also get tables, and you can put in your text anywhere. And last but not least, RStudio is supported and developed by a very strong team. Just giving a few examples. The most notable person is probably Hadley Wickham, who has developed more than 100 R packages or collaborated at R packages, and is also well known as an author and doing speeches on R, and just very present in the R community. Winston Chang is also on the RStudio team, known for Shiny and R6 and for the R graphics cookbook. Then Max Kuhn, of course, who wrote the Caret package and C50 package and wrote applied predictive modeling. And Gerrit Krolemund, who has participated in packages, written ggSubplot, and written R for data science together with Hadley Wickham. Well, that was it. Here's a summary of the 10 reasons that I gave. I hope you enjoyed it, and now have fun using R and RStudio.